Everyone, welcome to our 14 after school review on module 6.1, 6.2, and externalities. We have a lot to cover, so we're going to hop into it. We'll start with number one. Which of the following situations is adverse selection most likely to be a problem? So what is adverse selection? Adverse selection typically means that, this one's kind of tricky. So if there's a selection bias and you're not, hold on, let me see what they mean on this one. So buying tomatoes at local farmers market, hiring a new manager to work the night shift, buying a new lawnmower, buying a house directly from the previous owner, that's probably it. And buying vintage car with 965. Okay, so adverse selection is incomplete information. It means one party knows information and the other party doesn't. Essentially, the market for lemons is where this comes from. His paper won Nobel Prize about imperfect information lead to inefficient outcomes. So if I know the quality of the mower and I sell it to you, well, am I going to sell it? If it's in really good shape, I'd want a high price. But since you don't know, you would only pay a low price, which means if I know it's worth a lot, but you're only willing to pay a little, I won't sell you the good mower. But if I have a junky mower and you're not willing to pay a lot for it, and I know it's not worth a lot, I will sell it to you. So you're probably more likely to get a bad used good. Used goods and adverse selection go together. It means one party knows information, the other party doesn't. All right, we'll move on to number 4. The marginal external cost of good or activity equals the amount. Oh, the difference in the marginal social cost and marginal private cost. So social benefit curve, no. Social cost curve is lower than the supply curve. No, it's the social cost curve is above. Marginal social cost curve is higher than supply curve. Remember, supply is marginal private costs. Marginal social cost is the additional external cost added onto it. So it's a vertical difference.
The external cost of benefit always greater than.
Yes, because you have private and then you add the external. So that's always got to be. That's why you can say the curves shift up because you're adding onto it. Does that make sense? That should help a lot. Okay, number 6. In the absence of government action, polluters will pollute up to a point when the marginal social benefit is 0. We covered that in class today. What's the cost of creating pollution? Isn't 1. So you'll pollute until all the benefits exhausted in the absence of government action. All right. 7. One of the reasons community colleges receive government subsidies is that they believe that education creates probably positive externalities. Therefore, without subsidies, the quantity produced would be below the socially optimal amount. If you have a good positive externalities and you don't subsidize it, you consume too low. Does that make sense? Any questions? No? Then we'll move on to number 9. The proposition that if transaction costs are low enough, this is Coates theorem, the private market can achieve an efficient outcome regardless of which of the affected parties hold the property rights is known as the Coates theorem. In short, the Coates theorem, I'm going to break it down, and you do need to know it. This is important content. The Coates theorem essentially says that if transaction costs are low and property rights are clearly defined, so transaction costs are low, property rights are clearly defined, an efficient outcome will still be generated in a market with an externality. The example is, if I'm a factory up on a hill that pollutes a lot, and you guys live in the town below that gets polluted on, should I be able to pollute or not? No. You say no, but in my case right now, I'm going to make it so that you're wrong. And the Coates theorem will say, I'll keep polluting. Here's why. Let's say the marginal social benefit of me polluting, the private benefit, is like $100,000. But I impose a $60,000 cost on you. So the benefit's greater than the cost. The Coates theorem says, as long as transaction costs are low and property rights are clearly defined, we will get the efficient outcome, which is to pollute. Here's why. Let's say I have the right to pollute. Property rights are clearly defined. Then, I'm just going to keep polluting. Easy enough? Efficient outcome achieved. But if you guys have the right to stop me from polluting, property rights are clearly defined, Here's what happened. I make $100,000 of benefit. It costs you $60,000, which means if I paid you $60,000 or more, the minimum 60,000, you would be okay with the pollution.
Mhm.
Let's call that the cost of you leaving, going to the next hill.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you say, hey, stop polluting, if I said I'll give you $60,000 or more, what would you guys all do?
And stay.
Say yes, either take the money or move, whatever scenario you want, and I keep polluting. Does that make sense? I've internalized the externality in that case. You guys got it? So coast zero pound. Now, if it's flipped, if the cost is much greater than me polluting, the opposite can happen. You could, if you had the proper right to shut me down, you shut me down. If not, you would pay me to stop polluting more than the profit I generate. Make sense? But here's why we say property rights must clearly define. What if I pollute and you say I'm not allowed to, but I say I am? What are we just going to do? Debate. I'll keep polluting, you'll keep trying to stop me, and we don't necessarily have that efficient outcome. On the other hand, what if you guys, there were like 500 of you in a town, and I try to get all of you to agree to move? Like, I'll pay you the cost of moving or more. Well, then transaction costs would be high because I got to get you to agree on a number, and you to agree on a number, and him to agree on a number. And when you agree to 60,000, he takes 60,000. I need you to also say yes, but you're probably going to ask for what? 70, 80, not then when she finds out, she wants more, and we might not reach that efficient outcome. You guys got it? So transaction, so if you guys were all one community with one spokesperson, transaction costs are low. But if I have to deal with all of you guys independently, the transaction costs would be insufficient or sufficiently high enough that we wouldn't achieve the efficient outcome. So 2 things to know about coast zero: transaction costs, property rights. If those are there, the most efficient outcome will be achieved. Coast zero. All right. Let's move on to 10 then. All right. Competitive market. We have supply and demand. So marginal private benefit, marginal private cost. It says if there are external costs, then we would have to make an additional marginal social cost, move the supply curve up or to the left, hopefully working. So if there are external costs, resource will be underallocated to the production of good. No people will consume too much. They'll be overallocated. Resource will be overallocated, production of good. That's what we say. With a market with a negative externality, people will overconsume, so we'll make too much. There it is.
In what cases will they underconsume?
A positive externality will cause people to underconsume the good. They won't make enough of the good that benefits extra people. Does that make sense?
So negative externalities they will overconsume, and positive they will underconsume.
Correct. A negative externality, default. People unregulated will overconsume. Positive externality, people will underconsume in an unregulated market.
So when the question asks about resources underallocating or overallocating for the production of the goods, it's the same as saying consuming the good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because not consume, it's not produce. Those should always equal each other.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, I think we're on 11. All right. So we have marginal private benefit, marginal social benefit. There's a positive externality in this market. Marginal private benefits and social benefits. Without government intervention, the market will produce to where private and private intersect. So that will be P2 and Q1. There you go. You guys got it? Private and private.
You're noticing that every single question without government intervention, it'll be at normal equilibrium.
Yeah, where supply equals M, where marginal private cost equals marginal private benefit, where people just work in their own best interest.
Okay.
That's it. All right, 14. Okay, point blank represents, okay, we got to look at it. So marginal social cost, marginal social benefit, allocatively efficient point. Every other point is inefficient. I don't even know what E means. So let's find out. Point blank, point A, alpha, is too much pollution as a yeah, because that's where the marginal private cost would be. Too much because the marginal social benefit is greater marginal social cost. No, the opposite. Point B is not enough pollution. Yes, that's correct, as the marginal social benefit is greater marginal social cost. That's it. Point B, the benefit is greater than the cost. We are under polluting.
Question 13. What does it mean to internalize an externality?
That means like I pay for the cost I impose. Or if it's a positive externality, you pay for the benefit you receive when I do something.
So that externality is now,
Internalized by the person making it happen.
okay.
Either the cost or gaining more benefit from it. Okay, 16. All right, 16. When the positive externality exists, so marginal private benefit is low, marginal social benefit is higher. The difference between the marginal social benefit curve and the market demand curve is the external benefit of production. The marginal external benefit. There it is. And the vertical height, we add the external benefit onto the private benefit to get the social benefit or total benefit in the economy. All right, we can move on to the next page. Again, nothing on the next page. Okay. The 26. Okay, and the figure, if the government achieves this socially optimal level, it does so by. All right, how do you get, so there's a positive externality, socially optimal level is P1 and Q2. How could we do that? Well, it's a positive externality, so you fix a positive externality with a
Subsidy.
what kind of subsidy?
It's an excise subsidy, but it's also called a.
So the answer is a per unit subsidy, but that would be a Pigovian subsidy. So that's it, Pigovian, and a Pigovian subsidy of the height between, in theory, it'd be here between P1 and P3, but that P3 is not an option, but it's that vertical height, the external benefit. So P0 and P2 is the vertical height of the marginal private benefit and marginal social benefit. So that vertical height equals the marginal external benefit. That's what the subsidy should represent. And so there it is. A per unit subsidy of P0 to P2. All right.
I'm sorry, could you explain again how to find the Pigovian subsidy?
Remember the internalize the externality?
Mhm.
If we had numbers here, we know the difference between the marginal private benefit, marginal social benefit, that vertical height, is the external benefit.
Mhm.
Let's say it's 10. That means we want a subsidy of 10 units.
Mhm.
But where could you measure the vertical height on this graph? There's only one spot,
Okay.
and that's between P0 and P2.
Okay.
Now, in theory, you could measure it here, but we would need like a pricier P3 that just, it's not on there, so it can't be.
It's always going to be subsidized or taxed by the amount of the external marginal
The
benefit.
Pigovian subsidy and Pigovian tax is always the amount of the marginal external benefit or cost, respectively.
Okay.
31. There you go. Assume there are external benefits, so positive externality, associated with production of good X. Without government intervention, they will produce too little of a good. This is positive externality, we always under consume or produce, take it back. Oh, okay, so generate produce too much, too little. Generate price below the marginal social cost. No, the price will equal the marginal social cost. Generate price equal the marginal social benefit. No, that'll be much higher. Generate price above the marginal cost. No, under allocate resource and production. That means not produce enough.
Is it like under allocate the resources because people are not consuming as much?
Right. That's exactly what it means. If people aren't consuming as much, they're not producing as much, we're under allocating. This good is too important and we're not making enough of it. So we're not allocating resources to the production or consumption of that good. All right. So we can move down. Do you guys understand this one? It's also, if there's a $200 external cost, you move the curve up 200, draw a parallel line, where they intersect are your answers. Now that's pretty, okay. Scroll a bit. And the last one, cool, 38. Oh, that's not 38. There we go. The problem with adverse selection. Remember imperfect information, someone knows something, the other people don't. occurs when sellers, typically, who know more about what they're selling than the buyers, deliberately select inferior products. Yeah, if I have 10 goods, I know the quality of each one, but you don't, then which one am I going to try to get you to sell if you're like, I'll only pay this price?
The inferior one.
I'll give you the worst ones I got. That's it, first selection. And moral hazards, just so you know, that deals with insurance. It means that if you have like insurance on something, you will go ahead and take greater risks than you normally would because you know that if something bad happens, you don't have to pay the cost of that. This is typical in like car insurance. You have really good car insurance, you drive like you have good insurance. Go ahead and drive recklessly, crash your car, and like, insurance, do pay for the problems I cause. A major example of this, and I know the community I'm talking to, is people building homes in flood zones. Because even though they pay flood insurance, it's often way below the risk that is provided to them because they subsidize it, the government pays for it. So when floods happen, insurance and other people pay, and then the people just rebuild in the same spot and it gets flooded and the insurance pays, and repeat. And so that insurance is giving them an incentive to engage in riskier behavior than they normally would because it protects them from the consequences. So, all right. Anyway, that's it for this review. Good luck tomorrow. Hope you guys are remembering the main principles of this content. See you then.